Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you're about to hear and see has been done in one take. I'm your host, the One Take Man, and welcome back to Courage the Cowardly Dog Month. I am once again on Tier Maker due to this video because I'm going to create a tier list of all all episodes of the original show, all 102 of them, as you can see them listed right down here. There doesn't seem to be any particular order in which they show up, but you know what? That's secondary to me. What matters is that they're here and that I'm going to talk about them. And as you can see, I've added some modifications to the original template. Like there's still S, A, B, C, and D, but I also added here at the top the top 10 and all-time great TV. These two kind of blend into each other because all-time great TV will have the one episode that I think is the absolute best, and then top 10 is numbers 2 through 10 of that list. I already made a whole bunch of videos ranking the episodes of the episodes of the individual seasons. So, and I've already talked at length about my thoughts on how each individual season went ahead, and what characterized each of them, what issues or particularities each of them have. So this video is in some way a culmination of all of that. Also, I got here down two further tiers, which are the worst and the worst. This tier is only going to be reserved for one particular episode that I think is the absolute worst. And ones that come closest in badness will get the second lowest. Beyond that, I'm gonna in general grade on a curve. You should by now know how these things work. Starting off with Squatting Tiger, Hidden Dog. Mediocre. It's basically a B. Club Cats. Club Cats is more interesting, but still not outstanding. It's also a B. I'm not gonna go into too much detail about about what I think of each of these episodes, partly because not all of these episodes inspire a lot of things to say, but also because, as I've mentioned, there are a whole bunch of other videos I made that are quite similar. So you can take plenty of information about what these videos are like from that. Invisible Muriel, I'm kind of tempted to put it at an A. I might change my mind because I still think it does some interesting or at least funny stuff. Cat's Candy. I don't think it's as good as Club Cats, so it's getting here. The Uncommon Cold, basically a C. Perfect. Perfect makes it not just okay. Move ahead. Perfect is actually a top 10 episode. Like it is seriously among the best episodes of the entire show. Car broke, phone yes. This one also goes in the A tier. I think it goes above Invisible Muriel. It actually does some more interesting things with its premise. Ball of Revenge. Ball of Revenge is one of the worst episodes of the entire series. It's not the worst. We'll get to that, but it is but it is still not particularly interesting, and it very much wastes its premise. The Sandman Sleeps, one of the better episodes of one of the worst seasons. I'm gonna say it's either the top of A or the bottom of S. I'm gonna put it at the bottom of S for now. Robot Randy. One of the better episodes of season 2. Though still perhaps not particularly jaw dropping. I'm still gonna give it an S. It's not exactly top 10, I might just move it down. I'll see. Cats Under the Sea. I think it goes in. I think it goes in C tier. It's not the worst episode featuring cats. That would be Bowl of Revenge, but it is. But it isn't as. I don't think it's as interesting or as eye catching as the others. Little Muriel is a D tier episode. I've already said it's the worst of is the worst of season one, and that is primarily the case because it goes against the very premise, the very appeal of the show. So for that reason, it goes for that reason it goes in D tier. Journey to the Center of Nowhere. That is admittedly a more fun episode, and actually has plenty going for it. I'm put it bottom of B for now. As you know, as you might have figured out, the closer an episode's thumbnail is to the name of the tier, the better off I think it is. The Curse of Shirley, bottom of A. It's a decent episode, but it's not really spectacular. There could have been better ways to start the second season. The McPherson Phantom is definitely a D tier episode. When I first saw it, I was convinced it was going to be the worst episode, and then I saw some of the depths that seasons 3 and 4 can go to, and I was like, no, this is not the worst, but it's still bad. It's still unimpressive. Heads of Beef. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go here. Middle of C tier for now. There are things about it that work, but there are things about it that that leave it coming across as not particularly impressive. King Ramses' Curse is a top 10 episode. Like it just is. It's one of the best. It's one of the most iconic. It's one of the most quoted episodes, most often remembered. It belongs in here in the top 10. Next up, oh, House Calls. This is a season 4 episode. One that I don't really have much of a recollection about, except for the fact that maybe the ending was a little bit too too rushed, but still an interesting conclusion in of itself. So bottom of A for now. Food of the Dragon. Bottom I don't know, bottom of B or top of C. I'm gonna go bottom of B for now. It's basically an ugly duckling story with the with the monster serving as the with the monster serving as the protagonist. So yeah, that's kind of what I have to say about it. Record deal is actually gonna go in the middle of A tier. It it actually represents an interesting twist on and it actually represents an interesting twist on the typical formula of the show and on on the things that get done throughout it. It is the only episode where where both Shirley and the computer show up in order to solve the or help solve the problem of the day. So for that alone makes it very notable. But beyond that, the pacing is perhaps not engaging. Stormy Weather, that goes near the top of B. It's it's interesting in its own ways, but it's not groundbreaking, particularly not in terms of what it could be. Muriel Meets Her Match is definitely a D tier episode, but I think it's better than the McPherson Phantom. It really shows Muriel in one of her worst possible in one of the worst possible ways she can be shown, and for that level of character sabotage, it's not assassination, it's just sabotage. I really can only go D tier. Funny how there are all two D tier episodes already, and how two D tier episodes already are focused around Muriel. She typically has better episodes than that, I swear. In fact, a lot of the episodes here that have already been mentioned here feature her to some capacity or directly about her being threatened, and they fare much better. The Demon in the Mattress, top 10 episode. Not King Ramsay's good, but still good. One of them, and again, another one of those most often quoted, most often referenced. Specifically because this kids show is able to pull off an Exorcist reference. Next up, Goat Pain. I'm gonna go maybe not top of A, but not top of B, but in that vicinity. It it actually has a sympathetic villain and an interesting storyline to go with with the plight. So for that reason, it makes it all the way here. Wrath of the Librarian, it's C tier, above Cats Under the Sea. Compared to Heads of Beef, though, no, it's better than Heads of Beef. Yeah, okay, I'm putting it top C tier for now. Snowman's Revenge, the worst. No. Is it? No, it's not. It's not actually the worst. It's among the worst. I think. Is it? It is. It is worse than Ball of Revenge. I have to say. It very much sabotages one of the, one of its villains drastically. And I understand the idea of being topical to some extent, but the first Snowman episode did that much better, much more effectively, while also creating a sympathetic villain. Whereas this episode absolutely ruined the Snowman. Next up, Dr. LeQuack. Dr. LeQuack, amnesia specialist. First appearance of one of this show's most long-running villains. I'm gonna go low S tier. It's actually better than some. It's better than some villain introductions I can mention, and overall I think it has a good balance of both the menace and the comedy, which is something the show generally struggles with, or at least in the beginning. Hard Drive Courage. I'm gonna go around here, around the tail end of B. It's an interesting episode, but doesn't really have much going for it beyond that. Curtain of Cruelty, bottom of C. And again, not a lot to say. There's a curtain going through the city, making people, turning people evil, and Courage has to figure out how to reverse that. Which, pretty standard spec fix story that I didn't really particularly care about. Mission to the Sun actually goes quite high. I'm gonna say above Curse of Shirley, but maybe under Record Deal. Alright, I might just change my mind and put Record Deal a little bit lower, but still, Mission to the Sun is was actually a surprisingly intriguing episode to follow, particularly in terms of how the jokes fly and how the plot unfolds. The Revenge of the Chicken from Outer Space, top 10 episode. Move over. Fucking hell. Okay. It is, I have no problem saying it is actually a better episode than King Ramsay's Curse, because simply because of the way that it is plotted and because of the way the action unfolds. It is captivating, and it is exciting, and I had a lot of fun watching it, play around with it, play around with its tension and its escalation. It is great. It is definitely top 10 and top 10 material. Interesting how the top 10 so far has like 3 season 1 episodes and 1 season 4. Oh well, we'll go through some other episodes soon enough. Last of the Star Makers, low S tier for now. It's got some interesting ideas going for it, but and in particular with how with what it says about the world as a whole, It is once again one of those episodes where the government is the bad guy. Uh, Beyond that, I don't really know what else to say. Shirley the Medium, Shirley's first episode. I actually think this gets a B, and the Curse of Shirley. No, I actually think that can stay up there because it actually manages to utilize its premise to make a character statement. But Shirley the Medium, by comparison, doesn't really have that. Doesn't really have that going for it. So it is for now at the higher end of B. Whoa, there are a lot less episodes in this season than I thought. In this show than I thought. Have I already gone through so many? No matter. Son of the Chicken from Outer Space. It's bottom of C. Nothing particularly egregious, but it's not really interesting. It's not really that captivating either. Serpent of Evil River. I actually think it's worth an. I think it's actually worth an A, and because I really like the pastiche, the way the pastiche of various jungle adventure movies that it does, and yeah, I think for that reason it deserves showing up here. The Great Fusili is on the lower end of S tier, I think. No, it actually goes above Dr. LeQuack. Because it is it is an intriguing episode, and it is the first and best showbiz is bad kind of episode that Courage the Cowardly Dog pulled off, and I think it actually managed to manage its message better than most others. So for that reason, it makes it up here. The Snowman Cometh. It's high A tier, yeah. Better than Carbophone, yes, definitely. Next up, Night of the Weremole. Yeah, again, high A tier. So in Louvre are we too. It's worse than Ball of Revenge, but better than Snowman's Revenge. So it goes in the worst. Dome of Doom. This one, I think, yeah. I think it goes in here. The lower end, the lower half of B. It's, it has an interesting idea, and and in some creative horror concepts that are put in place, but nothing really beyond that. Nothing really that makes it stand out or makes me want to revisit it. At least when compared to higher placed episodes. Fishy Business. This one actually, this one will go. I'm gonna say yeah, high B tier. It's got a cool concept, and it's actually implemented in an interesting way. But beyond that, I can't really make any further comments. Mondo Magic goes yeah, about here, middle of A tier. One of season 3's better episodes, and it definitely deserves its place up here. Next up, Tower of Dr. Zolus. I've already sung its praises so many times. It is absolutely a great episode that utilizes its premise perfectly, and makes for some absolutely captivating viewing experience. It cannot be anything other than all-time great TV. The best episode of the show. Conway the Contaminationist. He does kind of stick in your brain, especially after you see the episode. Or at least that's the case for the character. When it comes to the episode itself, I think it's well placed here. Because it's one of those episodes about how it's bad to be dirty, and I do have to credit the show for being able to actually go there with its animation, with its designs, and with how it's capable of portraying itself. It does I am somewhat disappointed to say that it does use the same mural dirty, pun totally intended. But it does serve a good function overall. Queen of the Black Puddle. Um, yeah, I think here high A tier. Not it's perhaps not spectacular, but it is but it is still quite good. Tulip's Warm. Uh, yeah, D tier. It is very weird, particularly towards the end, and it has that going for it. But other than that, yeah, actually, I'm gonna put it right here above Muriel Meets Her Match. It's better than that. Night at the Cat's Motel, the very first episode. I think it goes around here, around the middle of B tier. Um, it serves as a good introduction, but they still haven't figured. But the makers of the show haven't ironed out all the bugs yet in it, and that is that is quite clear. So so for that reason, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but far better, as well as far worse, came after that. So for that reason, middle of a B tier. Courage Meets the Mummy. This is very much uh, a C tier episode, and in fact, I think it was one of the worst of. I think I ranked it as one of the worst of season 2 because this show has already proven that it can do something very creative with the by then decades old uh, horror concept of the mummy. And with this episode, it goes, decides to throw all of that creativity away. Not particularly pleased, and not particularly pleased with that. The Duck Brothers. Duck Brothers goes into high D tier. It's it does have its strong points, but overall it's the second worst of the first season. Feast of the Bullfrogs. This one, yeah, I think this one goes here. Um, yeah, it's an interesting episode in and of itself, and I have to say the nature of the threat is somewhat unusual, but nevertheless intriguing. So for that reason, so it makes it in the first half of B. The Nutcracker. Let's say C. It's not the best realization of the concept, but it works. Hothead, bottom of C tier for now. As I've said in my season 1 ranking episode, this entire episode is really built around one scare, and it doesn't really know how to vary up the circumstances enough to really in order to really keep it interesting. So for that reason, bottom of C. Muted Muriel. Don't really know what to what to make of this. What to let's say I don't know. Let's say yeah, middle of B tier and move ahead from there. Courage in the Big Stinking City. This is a little bit tricky. I think it goes high A tier, high S tier. It actually, if I'm not mistaken, it won either an Emmy or an Annie, and there there are some so there are some good things about it, about how it's put together. But but however, other episodes have done better things. Still it does know how to play with it, to play with its premise and the way it builds tension, so it gets this spot. The Gods Must Be Goosey. I think it's fair to put this one. Is it top of A? Is it better than Night of the Weremole? Not really. Yeah, I think this is a good placement for it. It's still in the top half of tier A, but okay. Moving up, Quilt Club. Quill Club is a top 10 episode, regardless of what regardless of what someone else will say. It is, it wasn't, it's an interesting premise that is, that is very effectively, where the menace, the horror, and the fear aspect of it is very, very effectively presented. So, yeah. So yeah, I find it. So yeah, it's a very captivating episode that very much deserves to be among the, ranked among the best. Next up, Swindling Wind. Uh, yeah, the higher end of episode C. It is the one episode where that features Shirley at her most villainous, and her most villainous. So for that reason, I think it is fair to put it. But beyond that, there isn't really a lot that can be said about it, because in order for her to be villainous, she actually has to sabotage the premise of the show. So for that reason, it only makes it up to here. The Hunchback of Nowhere is is an A tier episode. I'm gonna say this is where it belongs. Next up, we've got Cowboy Courage. A little less than mediocre. I'm gonna put it, here. Bottom of B tier for now. The Precious, Adorable, Lovable Duckling. It's around. Yeah, I think this is a good place for it. Right around the Uncommon Cold. Because let me just say this. Yeah, this little thing is annoying, sometimes in a good way, but oftentimes not. The Clutching Foot. Clutching Foot is, I want to say, also in C tier, but really it's more lower end of B. There is there is one interesting section in terms of horror, but beyond that, it's just kind of it veers a little bit more into the adventure side of it. So yeah, so it doesn't have the same appeal as various other season 1 episodes would have, but I think it is well placed here. Is it better or worse than Journey to the Center of Nowhere? I actually forgot how I ranked these. Actually, I think I'm gonna put Shirley the medium down here. Yeah. So yeah, Shirley's last appearance is better than Shirley's first appearance. I think I'm cool with that. Next up, The Sand Whale Strikes. Yeah, I think it's worth an S tier. It's more for the more for the comedy than the menace, but still it isn't. It really wasn't an interesting representation of the menace and how it unfolded. So for that reason, it's it's going quite high. Next up, The Magic Tree of Nowhere. This is definitely an S tier episode. And I do have to appreciate how much of a how fleshed out of a character the tree actually becomes, even though in many ways it has a very stereotypical appearance. Anyway, I was just checking the recording to see if it was still going. And is that where I think Magic Tree of Nowhere goes? Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that for now. Next up, Courage meets Bigfoot. Yeah, I think it goes here, right underneath Club Cats, because Courage meets Bigfoot is, is an interesting, kind of does some interesting things with its horror, because it starts out that way, has a comedy interlude, then shifts the perspective of the horror somewhat. It's It's actually doing some creative and interesting things. Uh, though, and it does, and there is actually a lot of entertainment value that can be gleaned from it. No, perhaps not at this. Forbidden Hat of Gold. This one goes in C tier as well. I, uh, I really got nothing else to say about it. Rumpled Kilt Skin, season 4 episode. On the lower end of mediocre in terms of season 4 episodes. I think a good place to put it would also be around. Is it better than worse than the Common Cold? Worse. Bad Hair Day, higher end of C. And it actually has an interesting idea, and I think it is the first episode that actually, it actually allows Ma, to more actively take on that villainous role and see how, she operates. So for that reason, I think, and I think that is the one thing that helps the episode go, get settled within C tier. Next up, 1,000 Years of Courage. I like the, I think the idea of it would be perhaps interesting, but I'm not sure the implementation really works. I'm gonna put it, right here between Swindling Wind and the Uncommon Cold. Cajun Granny Stew. It's somewhat better than Night at the Cat's Motel. I don't know if this is a controversial statement, but it is the one I'm sticking with. Is it, however, worse than Stormy Weather? I will say it has more twists and turns than Stormy Weather, but Stormy Weather I think still has the advantage in terms of, in terms of the stakes and in terms of how those unfold. The Shadow of Courage. Is it our Shadow of Courage or the Shadow? Never mind. I think this episode also goes into S tier. Yeah, it's even better than Last of the Starmakers because it is one of the first episodes that really nailed the combination of both horror and comedy, and managed to play around with one without disrupting the other. It very much deserves to be in the top echelon of this series. Ride of the Valkyries. It's D tier. Yeah, and I would say it's on the lower end of D tier. Can you believe that an episode about eggplants had a better use of Wagner's Valkyrie motif than this episode that was specifically themed around Valkyries? Well, turns out I can. And next up, Muriel Blows Up. No, it's not in the worst. It's about here. It's in the lower half of C tier. Nothing about it that really stands out. Bride of the Swamp Monster, middle of B tier. I think it can quite comfortably go here. Next up, Courage versus Mecha Courage. It is. How do I rank this? I think this is about it. This is a pretty good place to put it up. To put it in, and it is really one of the first episodes where D. Lung truly gets to showcase, his villainous side, and the and also the conflict that emerges from that is, is very interesting, and it also showcases one of Courage's biggest strengths, which is that he never, ever gives up. Next up, we got Everyone Wants to Direct. This one, it's going on the higher end of A tier, but I'm not exactly sure how high. I'm gonna say this. Works. Still in the top half. Next up, The House of Discontent. It's a top 10 episode. About here, yeah. This is a good placement for it. Next up, we've got Scuba Scuba Doo. Mm, what do I do with you? I'm I'm taking a little breather because I had a lot to talk about so far. I'm gonna say it was among the I think it was among the top half of season 3 episodes, but then again, season 3 was one of the worst episodes of the it was one of the worst seasons, so I'm not can't really say I'm particularly impressed. Still, I think top half of B uh, is the is a good placement for it. Campsite of Terror. Uh, Around the middle of C tier. It's a pretty forgettable episode. Not much to say about it. Next up, Mega Muriel the Magnificent. This is the bottom of S tier for now. It's another season 3 episode, and but one of the more but one more interesting, one of the more engaging ones. So for that reason, it makes it it makes it all the way up here. Next up, A Beaver's Tale. One of the first episodes of season 4. I have to say I didn't really particularly find it impressive, so I'm gonna put it right underneath Wrath of the Librarian. I think that's where it. I think this is where it. Where it really should be. Angry, nasty people. Very much shoots up to the. Let's say here, around the top of the last third of B tier. Overly narrow superlative aside, this episode came after a string of some really bad ones, and watching Tarantella's return really made it feel like a breath of fresh air. Also, it's the second best showbiz is bad episodes, and I think the overall execution of it and the commentary that it delivers is intriguing and is very much timely in that sense. Watch the Birdies, worst episode ever. No questions asked. Mother's Day, controversial statement. For some reason it spawned over there. No, it's not All Time Great TV. It's here. It's it's a top 10 episode. Primarily because it showcases a lot of meaningful statements about the backstory of the about the backstory of the characters and how they how they develop. It is perhaps not mind bending, but it very much deserves its spot up here. Next up, Night of the Scarecrow. Yeah, I think it deserves place here, and a close to the tail end of C tier. Le Quack Balloon. Let's go around here. It's better than Angry Nasty People, but not as good as Squatting Tiger, Hidden Dog. Next up, Courage Under the Volcano. One of the last season 3 episodes, and it is one of the episodes where season 3 is more adventure oriented take. Take on the series actually ended up being crystallized. And nevertheless, I'm not exactly sure where to post it. For now, my instinct is to put it, here, top of C tier. I might change my mind though. Cabaret Courage, the last and definitely worst of the Showbiz is Bad episodes. I think. Does it belong in the worst? Not really. I'm gonna put it at the bottom of D for now. Windmill Vandals. Windmill Vandals is an S tier episode. It's not it's not among the top 10, but when I came in touch with it, it really felt like a great horror adventure throwback, just like just like the first season. It it really touched me. Really touched me in the way that I would have expected this show to touch me, and it did some very interesting and creative stuff with its premise. So for that reason, it very much deserves to be in a S tier. Profiles and courage. I'm gonna say around here, middle of B tier. There isn't really much I can say about it. It has it has some interesting ideas, and it plays with them fairly well, but not well enough to push it any further. Next up, King of Flan. I actually named the King of Flan as the worst villain of the of the entire series. However, his episode is not really the worst. I'm ready to put it right around here. The top half of D tier, because it actually plays around a little bit with the villain's presentation and the level of menace that he actually presents, which ultimately makes it a more interesting episode. Human Habit Trail. Where did that go? No, it's not. It's not among the worst, but I think it goes right around here, the middle of close to the middle of C tier, because I understand what it was. I understand what it was going for, but it really did not have all the building blocks in place in order to really merit the gravitas it was going for. So for that reason, Human Habit Trail goes middle of C tier. Nowhere TV. It does actually have plenty of humor, and it plays with its concept quite well. So I'm not gonna put it in. So I'm not gonna put it in C tier for now. I'm gonna put it around here, lower end of B tier. Next up, Outrageous Cure. Or no, Courageous Cure. This one is an episode at the tail end of season 4, and I have to say it was it was a fast paced and intriguing episode from a certain perspective, but it ultimately leaves me with not a lot to say. So for that reason, I'm gonna say Courageous Cure. Yeah, around here, around the bottom third of B tier. I just realized the top 10 doesn't really have 10 episodes yet. I must have shifted them around a little. I'll get to it when I'm done with the family business. When I'm done with the when I'm done placing all of these episodes. Family business is, where do I put you? I think the lower half of A tier works well. Particularly for how it, particularly for the menace it presents, and for how it is able to play around with it. Next up, we've got The Mask. This is very much an S tier episode. Like, it touches upon some very dark topics, but in such a way as to still make them approachable towards a young episode, and it is able to very effectively deal with what every character it presents, and with how it is able to play around with all of them. So for that reason, it's at the top of S tier for now. Evil Weevil. I'm gonna say middle of A tier. It's an interesting episode, and the way in which the menace actually unfolds, really allows the episode to stand out to the at least to a certain extent. I'm not exactly sure how I ranked it, but for now, this is where I'm putting it. Next up, Aqua Farmer. This one goes in the in the lower end of A tier. It really showcases what uh, it's stupid fun, and I find myself liking it. Farmer Hunter, Farmer Hunted. This one also goes in. This one also goes in A tier. I think it's fair to put it right here. Um, for how it manages to actually explore. For what it manages to do for. And I'm putting it here for what it manages for how it manages to improve upon Eustace's presentation while also while also delivering an interesting villain. So for that reason, Farmer Hunter, Farmer Hunted goes to A tier. Courage to Fly is a. I think it's fair to put it around here, middle of B tier. It's it's playing around with a somewhat interesting premise, and I think it. However, I can't help but think more could have been done with the idea. Next up, Freaky Fred. Freaky Fred is a top 10 episode. It's like no doubt in my mind about it. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and last episode in the top 10 tier, Remembrance of Courage Past. It is seriously among the best episodes of the series. Even though it does something, it manages to play around with expectations, and it goes a little bit into Courage's own backstory. In effect, also rendering the introduction to the the introduction to the series somewhat somewhat moot, or to put it plainly, wrong. So this really is the kind of episode that could have really only showed up right at the end, right as the show came to an end. I'm not exactly sure if what was revealed in this episode was always the intention behind the show, but still, it is the season ending with a bang. It ends perfect, which, yeah, I have to say, great endings. And last but not least, we've got The Transplant. Where do I put you? I think top of A tier works. And this is my ranking. Let's see. Anything I'd like to change? No, the top 10 and all-time great TV tiers are basically how I thought of them. S tier, can't really think of any that should be here but isn't. A tier, yeah, I think I'm fine with it overall. B tier. Wait, I'm stuck with Club Cats being the best Cats episode. You know what? I'm fine with that. Next up. Bride of the Swamp Monster is surprisingly high. But yeah, I can't really find any episodes that I'd like to shift around to any capacity. So yeah, this is my list. If you notice any discrepancy between this and the season rankings, well, it happened. it happened. I'm not gonna go back and try to remedy them in any way. I don't really have that. I don't really have that interest. This is anyway at this current point in time, my opinion of all of the Courage the Cowardly Dog episodes. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then make sure to and if you did, I can't talk anymore. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Watching me rank these videos and again go through some of my justifications. If that is the case, well then please like the video, maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If there is anything you'd like to add, either to either to any particular episode or to my ranking of them, well then that's what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. I also have a main channel where I talk about book-related and literature topics, so if that sounds interesting to you, then go ahead and check it out. If instead you want to hear more about my ramblings on a whole variety of different topics, then you can stay on, this channel and go through my backlog. You are bound to find something you'll be interested in. If none of those interest you, then I suggest you go ahead and do whatever you want with the rest of your day because, it is your day after all. And yeah, that was all I had to say. Until next time, I have been the One Take Man.